Sure.
So this is nominally a gangster movie. At least it was on my Gangsters Blu-ray collection.
It's not really a gangster movie.
No, and the thing. So when we were kind of deciding what movies to watch for this episode, there, uh, the reviews, the contemporary like now reviews for Petrified Forest, a lot of them were like, "This is not a good movie. It's boring. It's not like it's not what I wanted out of this movie." Um, and I almost turned against it. But because we had a lot of other candidates for this episode, but
Mm.
Glenn's a big Bogart guy.
Am I?
Are you? I thought you were. I thought you liked Maltese Falcon a lot. At
I like
least.
Maltese Falcon a lot. I like Big Sleep a lot. I don't know. I don't think of myself as like a Bogart guy, but I like Bogart in things for sure.
Wait, yeah, Bogarting is definitely the link between these two. That
Yep. Yes, it is.
but I think all of those reviews were people who expected it to be a gangster movie when really it is a play. It's a play with two
Mm,
locations. Two
yeah.
scene like one brief scene change and then you go back to the original area. Yes, this is a movie about kind of a, I don't know, urbane European type who's
Mm.
drifting across the,
He is basically just a European.
he calls himself American, though he clearly isn't. I'm not sure what was going on there.
Right. He has a very clear English, or at the very least mid Atlantic accent.
And he's rolling through America trying to find his way. He's a failed novelist, and he happens into a gas station in Black Mesa, Arizona.
Black Mesa.
Yeah,
I lit up when they said that.
me too. I said, where are the Hound Eyes? Where are the Vortigons? and and so he encounters a local lady who dreams of a bigger life in Europe, in France, where her mom is from, and then some gangsters show up and make everything tense, and then
Mm.
everybody has tense conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie is mostly tense conversations.
Yeah, it's very like proto Hateful Eight, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Not incorrect. I was actually really enjoying this movie until the end. I think the ending is not good.
Really.
Yeah. Or I didn't like it, but
I thought it's a bold ending, certainly.
it is. Yeah. It is that.
This and Fury and Modern Times, two other movies that we're going to be talking about, these all really made me start wondering how much this pre-code, post-code stuff is really like means, you know? There's a lot of like really edgy stuff in these three movies that you would kind of assume if you were thinking about the code that they would not really allow.
Yeah, I think it's less of a hard cutoff than I kind of was expecting.
Yeah.
To see. I do think there, as we've talked about, there's a lot of stuff in pre-code movies that I was like surprised to see in an old movie. You know, a lot of that is kind of being toned down at the very least once the Hays Code gets enforced more. But yeah, it's not like everything isn't becoming like super squeaky clean overnight either.
Yeah, I mean, in some of these movies that we watched for this episode, there were moments that were like more just me in current day going, "Oh my god," you know, than honestly a lot of the pre-code movies. But anyway, this is all a digression. The gangster is Humphrey Bogart.
Well, is he a gangster or is he's more of an outlaw, I feel.
He's a killer. He's on the run and he's got a gang. I think
right.
that,
but he's more of like a John Dillinger type than a like Al Capone type.
Isn't John Dillinger a gangster? I don't.
I think of John Dillinger as a bank robber first and foremost. Not so much. He had a gang, but a gang in the sort of Wild West type of like he had like a gang of ruffians that he ran with, you know?
Right.
Not like it wasn't like this isn't organized crime. This isn't, you know, this isn't the mafia. This isn't you know, there's not really hierarchies or, you know, organization and things like that. It's him and like a couple other guys driving around in a car
Yeah.
stealing stuff
They're
and
a
shooting
crew,
people.
I
Yeah.
suppose. And you know, in the way that you say that he's an outlaw, there's like an old man who is one of the characters. He talks about uh having had a run-in with Billy the Kid, and
Mhm.
uh and he immediately respects this kind of evil man because he's like, you're an outlaw like the old days. That's great. Yes, take us hostage, I'm having
Yeah.
fun.
This grandpa is way too excited to see someone get murdered. Every time they're like brandishing a gun, he's like, "Ooh, shoot him, shoot him!" He's like, he just wants to see someone get killed so badly. I believe it's the grandpa who has a line in the movie about the kind of the split between like an outlaw and a gangster. He says,
Hmm.
"Gangsters is foreigners. You're an
Right.
outlaw," and he's like in a very racist way saying like, "No, no, no, you're better than gangsters. You're not Italian. You're American."
I suppose that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of like race and nationality stuff going on in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he says, he kind of implies like, oh, foreigners, Italians are bad guys, and you're cool, because you're Humphrey Bogart. And there's a kind of really conspicuous sign in the gas. It's like a gas station slash restaurant that's run
Mhm.
by a sort of like jingoistic dad who
Mhm.
at the moment that all of this crime goes down, he's heard about the crime, and then much like the bad guy in Dr. Captain Blood, Peter Dr.
Mm.
Captain Blood, he leaves the scene to go fight the crime while the crime goes to where he just left.
Mhm.
So he joins up with his crew, his very stonecutters elks kind of vigilante crew
Yeah.
of dads, and they go and try and hunt these bad guys, and then in the process completely miss them.
Mhm.
But his gas station has this really conspicuous sign that says tipping is un-American, keep your change.
Don't pay my family.
one of the one of the criminals that works with Humphrey Bogart's character is black, and there's another like kind of black kind of servant slash driver,
He's a valet, yeah.
a valet of a couple rich people, and they have this conversation where the criminal, the outlaw, he's like trying to get this other black guy who's kind of like still in this sort of role of servitude from, you know,
Mhm.
circa 70 years ago, right? He's still in this role of servitude to like loosen up and like try and like free him a little bit too. He says, "Take a drink, color brother," which I thought was a really interesting line. It was like a really, yeah, really interesting dynamic. And then like a lot of this is also a foreigner point of view character like looking at what America is
Yeah.
from his
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, there's a bit in that conversation. It is like the only two black characters have one conversation. And in
Passes
that
the Bechdel test.
it- where the criminal Slim says, ain't you heard about the big liberation?" Which I didn't know what that was referring to, and I looked it up, and I believe it's referring to there was a sort of like communist movement amongst primarily Southern black workers in like the mid 1930s, around when this movie was coming out.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was talking about the Civil War.
I mean, possibly. But that seemed like it was referring to some sort of contemporary thing
Hmm.
that I was unfamiliar with, and there was, yes, this sort of like in a lot of communities in the 1930s in the United States, there was a lot of interest in communism, which I mean makes sense.
I mean, it's,
When capitalism has like collapsed your entire country for like a decade.
yeah.
I mean, at that point, only 6 years ish, but yeah, just like there's like a lot of little little bits of characterization like that, little sort of like conversation around like bigger topics that I think is interesting in this movie. I think
Yeah.
narratively there's like not a lot going on.
No, it's slow. It's like a lot of conversations that have sort of interesting dialogue, but it's not like there's not enough meat on the bones of the conversation to really like be that conversation focused sometimes. But yeah.
I do think like this movie, yeah, it's like 90% dialogue, but I think there's some good character stuff and some good dialogue.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Throughout. There's kind of there's this whole romantic subplot between Alan Squire, who's the sort of like mysterious, vaguely English. He says he describes himself as an American once removed, whatever that means.
Yeah. He's kind of doing the reverse of the kind of hipster American who goes backpacking in Europe and is finding themselves.
Right.
Like
he's backpacking in the US in the desert.
Hitchhiking, talking about how far he can get with his thumb.
Yeah, how far I can get with my thumb. And then he talks he's always talking about poetry. And
he talks about like the plight of the intellectual.
Right. And so Gabrielle, who's this like young woman who works at a gas station with her dad and like dreams of getting out, getting anywhere, getting all the way to France. She like falls head over heels for this guy immediately. She's like, "What did you say? Poetry?" And so there's this but then she also has this like lunk-headed football player who's also like pursuing her romantically, that she does not really want to have anything to do with.
But also, like, he's the only non-related male within 200 miles.
He's the only other man who lives. Like, yeah. There's a great line later where Alan, the intellectual, describes him as, he is a man of muscle, and he is suffering from the pangs of frustration.
They have a lot of, like, nice little, like, interest. I watched this before I read anything about it, really. And so I didn't know that this was based on a play, but I could tell that
it's very theatrical in the sense of how it's staged and the way it's written. It feels very play-like.
Yeah. And so it's just got all these things like, hey, I'm gonna say a thing, chew on it for a second, you know?
Yeah.
Like Alan also says is talking about, you know, the boorish the boorish football player types, and him, the suffering intellectuals, and he talks about how man took away like destroyed nature to create his highways and cities, and he proposes that neuroses are nature's way of getting back at man. And I'm like, that's something to think about, I guess. That's like an interesting thing for you to say.
I like, even though I consider myself a pretty intellectual person, I do think Alan is kind of insufferable in a lot of this. Like, a lot of his just sort of like his vague philosophical musings are just like, all right, dude, like, sure.
I think he hangs right on the edge of insufferable. I was okay with it.
Right, because he also has like a very kind of like dry sense of humor about it, and he's likable enough where you're not just like, oh god, get this guy out of here. But it also is then fun to see that guy sort of like having this like battle of wits almost with these like very, you know, like hard-edged criminals that like have no patience for his bullshit whatsoever, and he's kind of like trying to. So here's one of my things with this movie was there was a brief period towards the end of the movie where I thought where the movie was going was that Alan was going to like use his intellectual musings to play some weird mind games with the gangsters and like get everyone else out of their hostage-ish situation. That he was going to kind of like use his intellectual powers of like messing with their heads, like force them into some weird loophole that they'd agreed to, or that does not happen.
No, it's much darker than that. It's much like it's less narrative than that in a way. It's like it's more just like because he respects them so much, you know. Pretty much all of them immediately really respect the criminals who are keeping them
Mhm.
hostage, and they're just having like interesting conversations with them as far as just like look at you, you're a person who lives by their own rules, you're having fun in life, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't really ever think that he was gonna try and outsmart them because one, yeah, he likes them too much, and two, he has a death wish. He doesn't like his own life.
Right, I think it's kind of the death wish thing that kind of soured me on this movie a little bit. But I
Hmm.
also like he has such a he's so vague about his backstory, Alan, that I was so like, is there gonna be some like twist where he's actually is like super capable and is gonna like take all
Yeah,
these guys out or something like what is like there was a period of time where I was like the ending of this movie could go bananas and I will be so excited for that to happen. It does
yeah.
not do that at all. It is that Alan is like has too many neuroses because, people made roads and now he doesn't want to live, but he wants to leave behind his money to Gabrielle, the woman played by Betty Davis, early Betty Davis role
Hmm.
of Eyes fame.
It's not even necessarily that he wants to die. It's just like he sees no point in living, and he doesn't really see himself, like see any value in himself. And he is so inspired by Gabrielle's story that he's like, oh well, like the best thing that I can do with my life is give you my $5,000 for my life insurance.
Hmm.
Um,
Not to like take you to France myself like you wanted to and actually like grow as a human being or like provide companionship to another person. It's like I find his sort of like death wish to be incredibly selfish and dumb. And like it really soured me to that character.
like yeah, he wants to be remembered as a hero who uh was an artist who died before his time, and
Right. And I'm like, shut up, dude, you asshole. Like, get over yourself and just
yeah.
like live your life, man.
Yeah, he shuts out all possibility of his life improving, and he's like, literally the best thing that I can do is die for you right now.
Yeah. But and like he doesn't try to prevent it. It's like it is like not selfless at all. I don't think.
Right. I mean, yeah, like yeah, it's his idea. I mean, we're kind of dancing around. It's spoilers, but he asks Humphrey Bogart's character, who is a seasoned killer, to say like, "Hey, this is my plan. Will you kill me?" And he goes, "Gladly. Sure. Sounds like fun."
He's like, "Hey man, it's your life, like whatever. If you want me to shoot you, I guess I will." But then he's like, oh, like he tells him like I'd prefer Gabrielle think that it was in cold blood, like that I didn't tell you to shoot me, like don't tell her that. And I'm just like, oh, this guy sucks.
I think I see what you're getting at here, which is that like this movie is doing some interesting, cool stuff, but I think it just needed like one more element to stack on top of what was happening to make it feel like it was like fully fleshed out, fully thought out.
I think that if Alan had that thought of like, oh, I'm not contributing anything to society, like I would be better off as a dead person, like
Mhm.
I don't see my life improving, and then he has a thing where like he actually through this very tense situation has like comes around a corner and actually realizes that like no, life is worth living, and there are people I enjoy being around, and like there's so much more to see. If like the movie used that as a jumping off point to like this character can now learn something as opposed to just like
I don't know. I mean, I see
the
where you're coming from. I think that could be good, but I think it's like it doesn't need to be that conventional.
or he turns out to be a secret badass and he like takes out all the gangsters. I would also like to see that.
I just think that like, I think there's parts of this ending that feel cheap, but also I think that it's like a really daring ending, like because it's so narratively unconventional. It's not like how you would like he doesn't
True.
learn or grow, he just like he's just like I could die and I'd be of service. And then he dies and he is of service. And then you just kind of have to think about yourself, whether like what the deal with that was, or like why, like whether he was justified in doing what he did.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
my thought is that he's a dumb idiot,
yeah.
and is not noble whatsoever. I have a very kind of like Robert McKee reaction to that. It's like, it is unconventional because it sucks.
No, I respect it. I respect it. I think that it could have been handled better, but
Mm.
I don't know if the only way to handle it better was to make it more cliche, you know?
Sure. Yeah. No. Very, very good point. But yeah, I found this movie to be very narratively unsatisfying,
I can feel
which
that.
is
Yeah.
also too bad because I think the setup for this movie is great. I think the like bottled energy of disparate people who are all kind of like trapped together in this like lonely gas station, and they all have like very different personalities, and they're all kind of like
Such a place.
clashing, and but it's like that's cool. I love
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like the resolution is just like, ugh, I don't like that.
Two quick notes from this movie. One is the amazing line where she asks him, "What's the first thing you see when you get to France?" And then he says, "The customs office."
Good line.
Funny. And also there's a Tommy gun in this movie.
There
Once
is,
again,
only the cops get to use it.
yes. The cops have a Tommy gun, but there is a Tommy gun depicted.
Yeah.
Which already, yeah.
Right. Already they're just like, well, they're more like guidelines, really.
Yeah, I guess so. Breen can't watch everyone.
Since this was a play originally, the guy who plays Alan, Leslie Howard, was in the play, as was Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart was like not really a movie actor at this point. And when they initially were gonna make the movie, Warner Brothers wanted to cast Edward G. Robinson from Little Caesar as Duke, the head, criminal. But Leslie Howard, being a good friend, was like, you have to cast Humphrey Bogart. He's like too good in this role. Like you can't recast this guy.
He's so good in this. Humphrey
He
Bogart's
really
incredible in this movie.
I guess this is the earliest Humphrey Bogart movie I've seen, and it is like immediately he is like very, very good on screen. Like
Yeah.
this guy knows how to hold the camera very well. And it is like Humphrey Bogart usually plays like kind of maybe guys with like a checkered past or like kind of rough around the edges. This is like the most like this. He is a bad dude.
Yeah. And he really
Um,
chews it up in this movie.
Yeah. I mentioned John Dillinger earlier, who was killed in 1934, but was, I mean, that was only 2 years before this movie came out. As far as I know, the character of Duke Mantee, which is who he plays, is kind of loosely inspired by John Dillinger. And Humphrey Bogart did watch like old newsreel footage of John Dillinger to kind of get like his mannerisms, which I can see in the way he plays it. He's got this weird like arm stance, like he holds his arms like his elbows kind of stuck out in a weird way. It always looks like his arms are kind of like resting on something, but there's nothing there. And I couldn't find any like concrete answer as to like what's up with that, other than that might be a thing where his permanent resting posture is as if he's wearing handcuffs because he's spent so much of his life in prison that he just has this like permanent like handcuff stance.
Interesting.
Which I think is like, if that is where that comes from, I think that's a really cool, interesting acting choice. But I couldn't find any like quotes from him about that. So who knows?